Let's discuss about variables. In this video, we will discuss about what are variables in JavaScript, how to declare them, initialize them, and how do we change a variable value. Let's get started. First, we'll understand what is a variable and why we require a variable. Variable we use in other programming languages also, not only in the JavaScript. We use variables in Python, Java, C or C++. So variables are everywhere. First, why do we require a variable? We will deal with the lots of data and different type of data while we are writing a program. Let's have an example. We have a student and his name is a John and his age is a 15 and he is studying at school XYZ. We want to write a program and in which we have to do some operations on this student data. So first, to deal with this data, we have to represent this data in our program. That is how the variable come into the picture. So in the program, we just will have to create this data first and we have to tell the computer that we are using this particular data like this, so that computer will understand it and process our data. So first, to create your data and to use this data, you have to store it, and to store a data you need a placeholder in the computer memory. That is how the placeholder is. And that placeholder you have to create a reference to it. So if I want to store a data of this student and I want to store the name of the student, so I have to create a reference to this particular placeholder called name, in which I can store the name of the student, that is a John. This is how we will deal with the data and we store the data in memory. So variables are just a type of a references here. So how we created a name is a reference that we can call it as a variable here. And a variable is nothing but it is a reference to a computer memory locations to store our data in the program. This is how variable generally works in the programming languages, and this is how variables just maps the data locations in the memory. So first, to store and to manipulate the variables, to create a variables and everything, first we have to create and declare a variable in any other programming languages, not only in the JavaScript. So that is how the declaration come into the picture. First, declaration of the variable will be having a different phases. Okay, and what is a declaration is, it is a creation process of the variable. Means, to use a variable, first you have to tell your program that you are creating a some variable. How do you create that? So let's have a variable called a student name. So this data I wanted to create in our program. You have to first declare this variable to inform your program that you are going to use this particular variable. Okay, and this value is a John. Similarly, whenever you create a variable, it will create a placeholder, and that placeholder it will have a reference called a student name. So in that you will be having a John, that is a value which you wanted to assign to that particular value. And here I have created a age, and this age value is a 15. When you create a variable like this in your program, it will create a placeholder in the computer, that is this age, and in which it will assign a value called 15. For school also similarly, it will create a placeholder and in which it will assign that particular value. So this is how creation phase of the variable works. Okay, here we are doing two things similarly. You are creating a variable and also you are assigning a value to it in a same time, at a same time, and then the same statement. Okay, this we call it as a declaration of the variable or creation of the variable in your program. Okay, now in general, in any other programming language also, in general variable creation have a three parts, that is this. First, you will be having a type of the variable, means which type it is. It can be a number or it can be a word. It can be any type, data type. Okay. Here we have three variables we have created, in which one is a word and age is a number here, and the school is also a word. It is a string, you can say. So every variable is having a type, and after to that it is having a variable name, then its value with the equal sign. If you want to assign a value to your variable, you have to use the equal sign. This is a general syntax of the variable creation and initialization in any other programming languages. Let's declare a variable in the JavaScript. To declare a variable in the JavaScript, we use three keywords, that is a var, let or constant. By using these three keywords, we declare variables in JavaScript. If you want to create a variable called student name, you can create by using these three keywords. Here I have created a student name with the keyword called var. Now whenever you create a variable like this, it will create a placeholder, and that placeholder reference or address it will assign like this, that is a student name. Similarly for the age, if you create a age with any of these keywords, okay, let age, here see, it will create a placeholder in your memory, and this is having a reference. That variable is a reference now to us. So we can do anything with our reference. We can insert our data into that placeholder, and we can update it, we can delete it, and whatever operations we want to do, we can do it. Similarly for the school, constant school, this is a variable which I have created in my JavaScript program. Whenever you create like this, it will create a placeholder in your memory, and it will have the reference now. Now we have created a variables by using these three keywords, and these three variables we have created in our JavaScript. So let's initialize our variable now. To initialize our variable, we have to use a equal sign. Let's say you want to initialize a value to your variable called student name and age and school. How do you initialize? By using a equal sign, that is this. Student name equal to John and age equal to 15 and XYZ, like this. So whenever you create a variable and initialize a variable like this, what it will do for student name, first it is already created a variable and reference, and in which it will just assign your value to it, like however you just declared and assigned that value in your program. Similarly for the age, it is created a reference, and in that placeholder it will just place your value, that is a 15. For XYZ also, XYZ school, this is a XYZ school, that is the name of the school. It is just a placeholder for containing a value of the school. This is how we just initialize a variable in JavaScript. Now how do we represent this creation of variables in the memory? Let's see that. We have the memory diagram like this. Let's assume this is a memory diagram, and memory is having a slots like this, and each slot will be having a different addresses. Okay, and let's take an example of variables, that is a, b and num. We have created three variables by using three different keywords that we are available in the JavaScript. Whenever you declare a variable like this, that is created a variable with let a, so it will create a reference in your memory with the a. For b as well, it is created a reference for that particular slot b, and for num now, so it is created a reference num. And that creation of the variable and booking a slot in the memory is, it can be at any sequence. It is not in a sequence, it can be at any place, it can be a random place, it is not having one particular sequence. Then we have to initialize our variables in the memory. We just created our variables. See, this is how we just initialize here. Here I have created three variables, and on line number 2 you can say a equal to 30.08. To initialize your variable, we already discussed you have to use a equal sign, that is a equal to 30.08. I'm just initializing a value called 30.08 into the particular variable a. Similarly, on line number 4, if you take b equal to JavaScript, I'm just initializing a value called JavaScript. Let's see here. We have initializing a two things here, a and b. Also num also we are initializing it. This is a shorthand notation. Here in the first example we are initializing it in the separate line, and also similarly we can do it in the same statement. Directly we can do let a equal to 30.08. This is how I can initialize and declare both things at the same statement, and where b equal to JavaScript. For this also constant num equal to 100. Let's see our memory diagram now. This is our memory, and how will it represent these variables in our memory. Whenever you create a variable a and initialize a value to it, it will just update the value in your slot. For the JavaScript, similarly it will work. See, whenever it will execute your program, it will just insert the value JavaScript. For the num, it is inserted a value called 100 to it, like which you have initialized in your program. This is how initialization of the variable works in the memory. Let's see, we can also change the variable whenever you wanted at different time. At any time, if you want to just change the value of your variable, you can do that. How we will do that? See, this is an example which I have taken the same example. We have created a 3 variables. On line number 6, you can see here now a equal to React.js. First, on line number 2, I just updated this value, that is a 30.08. That is the first initial value to it. After line number 6, if you take, I have just updated a value that is a different type. Now first type is it is a number, and the second time I have updated with the word, it is a string, you can say. Now see, 2 parts I have updated this particular value called a, that is a variable. This is a shorthand notation, and let's see that in our memory, whenever you created a variable a and it is updated like this, it is just assigned a 30.08 in your memory. For b as well, similarly, and for the num also. Whenever your program getting executed, line number 4, what it will do, it is updating a previous value, that is a 30.08, which you have assigned previously with the React.js now. Then what your compiler will do, it will just remove the previous value and it is update with your new value, that is a React.js in your memory. This is how the variable works in the programming language. This is how we can initialize a variable, we can update a variable, we can change at any point of time whenever you want it. And why this is possible? Because the JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. Means you can change a value at any time with a different data types. Means initially we have assigned a number to it, that is a variable a. After some point, we just updated that value with the string, that is a React.js, that is a word. So this is possible because of JavaScript is a dynamically typed. It is not a static type. In a static type languages, it is not possible. If you want to just have the placeholder for the number type, you have to have the only for number type. You cannot again reassign that particular type with another type. So that is not possible in the static type. But JavaScript is a dynamically typed, so that you can do these types. Like first you can declare with a different type of value, then after if you want you can change it to the another type. Similarly, how we have done it in this particular example. Even it is not recommended, and we have to strict whenever you are declared a variable, and if you want to just use that particular type of variable and throughout your program, it is better to use that particular data type for that particular variable which you have created, and it is not recommended to create a different types and also assigning a different types at your program. Then in the next video, we will see how do we deal with this in the program. We will create a program in the JavaScript and we will execute it and we will see the output onto the console. Thanks everyone.